So welcome to the Mesa Half Marathon just outside Phoenix, Arizona. And those of you who watched my last video will know that I left it on a bit of a cliffhanger. I showed the build up to the race and then I showed up to this point where we just started the race. So those who've been following along will know that I had planned to try and see if I could go under 72 minutes in this training block as a 50-year-old in the half marathon. And I'd had a really good training block up until the Houston half marathon. Here we go, let's start running. I'd had a really good training block up until the Houston half marathon 3 weeks before this race. And I was super fit, but I got sick the day of the race and I had to drop out. And I entitled that video something about feeling like a fraud, and I did feel like a fraud. I felt like I hadn't achieved anything and I wasn't achieving anything. So this one was the one that I really wanted to recover for. Now, the sickness really hung on and I had to take antibiotics and an inhaler, and I really didn't feel better even by the day of the race. So this was a bit of an unknown. I was about 95% better, but I was really intrigued to see how this first mile was going to feel and whether I was going to be able to run well today. So we started off, as you can see, and things were going well. The weather was absolutely perfect and I had a ton of people to run with, which was quite unusual. If you look over to the right there's a girl with a singlet on and a sort of stripe across it. We ran most of the race with her, so keep an eye on her. Her name's Sarah, and she and I became best of friends throughout this race. And that often happens when you're running together in a longer race, where you sort of become buds with the people around you, and Sarah was certainly someone who helped me through this race a lot, and hopefully I helped her too. So this first mile I was sort of thinking, don't kill yourself, just sort of ease in, and I could feel this first group getting away, and this is where I was thinking, shall I bridge the gap? But I was thinking, no, just sort of stay within yourself, you're running the right pace, just relax. And there were a ton of elite women around me, which was really good to see. And perfect weather and just cruising along on a nice flat stroke downhill bit here, and I was quite pleased to see that the pace was where I wanted it to be. And this first mile I ran through, you'll see in a minute, I ran through in about 5:27, and I was feeling pretty relaxed in terms of effort and everything else. The heart rate I think you can ignore. At about 2 miles I had a gel and it spiked up to 160. I don't think the two are related, but I think this heart rate here is misreading. I don't think I was running at 122 beats a minute. So in terms of footage from the race, I got about the first mile and I got about the last mile. So I'll talk to those and we'll see how the race unfolded. But you can see it was a lovely course. It was wide, it was open, it was flat. There were plenty of people to run with, and I was determined to make the best of this opportunity when I could. But of course, these first miles in any race are ones where you need to really relax and sort of settle in. So we skipped about half a mile further along into the race. We're coming up to the mile marker, and you can see running in front of me, that's Natasha Wodak. She's a Canadian runner who is super strong and amazing. And she ran 71 minutes. I think she finished 5th overall, just with Ali Ostrander. So the two of them had amazing races. And you can see Natasha started very conservatively back with me here, and then worked her way through the field and ended up finishing 71 minutes. So good work for her. And it was really impressive, and I felt quite honoured to be able to run with these amazing group of elite women. And that was a lot of what I had throughout the race. I was running with these elite women and they were super strong and super supportive, and it was just great to be able to see that side of the running. Natasha came past me here, just effortlessly started to run away from me and looked super strong. I do want to shout out that Philly Bowden actually was also part of this race, and I spoke to her at the start. She was behind me at this point and she came flying past me at about the 8 mile mark. I didn't get that on camera, but one of the things I noticed about Philly in particular was how she just was effortless in her motion. Like there was no swaying, there was no extra movement. She reminded me of like a ghost in the Scooby-Doo cartoons from the 70s. You know how they would just move forward? It was the same with Philly. Like all her effort was moving forward. There was no sort of excess movement, and that was really impressive to watch. So this was the point at which I stopped recording for a while, and I wanted to focus on being in the race. But I got some pictures from the race, and you can see the girl in the white top there was Sarah, and we were encouraging each other throughout this whole race. And it was really good to have this little group of elite women to run with, and I had people to run with the whole way, which makes a real difference. In terms of my splits, my first mile was 5:27, then another 5:27, then a 5:33, then a 5:32, then a 5:36, then a 5:35. And I went through 10K in probably about 34 flat. I didn't get the exact time, but I was really happy with that. Then 5:37, then 5:40, then 5:38. And this was around mile 9 where it started to get difficult. And mile 10, I did a 5:47. Sarah said to me at this point, "Don't leave me now, you've dragged me this far, don't leave me now," which was amazing and lovely of her. But she was super strong and she pulled away from me. So the last 3 miles, you'll see I did in 5:38, 5:35, and then the last bit was 5:04, the last 0.1 of a mile. So I was really happy with how it went. I'll reveal the actual finishing time when I cross the line in a few moments, but if you want to look them up on Strava, you absolutely can, and you'll get all the details there of my splits and my heart rate and everything, including the course profile. It was a really well-run race. I really enjoyed it, and it was a super fun atmosphere, and I got to say, this really gave me the love of running back. I did wonder what I would have done if I hadn't got sick in Houston. Like, I ran this race on almost no training for 3 weeks, still carrying a chest infection, and really not having had the ideal preparation at all. And I ran really well, and I do wonder how I would have run in Houston. So either way, today's performance was a good one and gave me some real confidence. I didn't hit the 72-minute target that I wanted, but I definitely no longer feel like a fraud. I was very, very happy with this one. So we're coming up to probably about 500 meters to go, and I'm thinking nearly there. This last finishing straight is slightly downhill. Don't worry about it. I knew there was a park that was coming up on the right, and every block I kept thinking, is this the park? Is this the park? And it wasn't the park. And then finally I could see the park here on my right, and this is where they were allowing all the spectators as well. So there was this like wall of noise, and I knew that I just had to run one more block and then turn right, and I would be there into the finish. So all I was doing was just like digging in at this point. I knew I'd run like 13 miles, and I knew I just had to finish it off. I was at the point where I was thinking, well, I've crossed 26 miles, I've got 385 yards, it's the same finish line. So you keep tricking yourself into thinking, oh, I'm getting closer. I knew I wasn't going to get under 73, and I knew that 74 was unlikely, but I really wanted in the mid 73s. I'd worked hard for this, and these last, even it's only a minute left to go, these last few seconds can really make a difference. So I really wanted to push towards the end. All the spectators were super encouraging, and I just wanted to see it home. And I knew that once I got around this corner, I just had to make it to the finish line, and the finish line would be right there. So this was the last little sprint up to the end, and I was feeling okay. I didn't feel like I was in any sort of trouble. I felt like I'd had a good race. I knew I'd had a good race, and I knew that it was going to be a good finishing time and a good race overall. So I crossed the finishing line, and bang, I did 73:37. That was the official time. It was 73:35 on my watch, but I was super happy with that. Shout out to the shoes. I ran in the Pumas, as you can see there, and I was very happy with that. Those Pumas were a great choice. And I can't see that the Adios Pro 4 would have been any better. That was something that, thanks for my medal. That was something that I was super happy with. So there was Sarah. She finished in front of me and did amazingly, and I gave her a thank you, and she said thank you to me as well. She was so lovely and so nice. And had a really good race. I wanted to say hi to Ali, and she gave me a hug, which was very nice of her, so thank you. I told her to subscribe to Global Runner. And then walking along back through the crowd, I also saw Spencer Brown, who is her boyfriend, the athlete special, and he'd run 65, which was an amazing run, and he teased me for wearing an Insta 360, and I said the same to him. So he was a really nice guy, and so big shout out to him. That was an amazing run. So overall, the Mesa half marathon was amazing. The final story though was hilarious. I ended up going to the results tent on the right up here, and they had a glitch. They said, we can't find your result. I did end up winning my age group, but at the time they couldn't find my result, so I had to go to the guy on the end, and they'd actually flagged me for cheating. They thought that I had run too fast for a 50-year-old between two of the timing mats, and so they needed to check my Garmin to check that I hadn't cheated. So I took that as a real compliment. They had flagged me for cheating. That's hilarious. So eventually I got my results and I won my age group, which was pretty cool. Very happy with that. And overall, the Mesa Half Marathon was a success.